Good morning, Aaron Boster here, warming up my cameras, getting ready to kick off a February live stream. Sending a shout out to this growing global online village, giving people an opportunity to get together. Good morning, everyone. Find a seat, make yourself cozy. We'll start answering questions at the top of the hour. Polly's in the house. Welcome, welcome. Hey Rodney, good to see you. How's my sound, guys? I have to use an auxiliary microphone. I'm a little worried about it. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Mary had a little lamb. Tiffany, good to see you. Glad to hear that, Rodney. Thank you, sir. Good morning, Highwood man. Disabled guy watching, what's shaking? Glad to hear the sound's good. Jana, great to see you today. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Aaron Boster here, gearing up for a February Ask Me Anything live stream. As per our usual, we'll kick it off at the top of the hour at 11 o'clock. Joe Siders just joined. Angela just joined, two of our amazing moderators. Thank you both for being here. As you jump online, please do exactly as 30 Rachel 79 did and share where you're jumping on from. Soren, coming from Michigan. Where in Michigan are you from, friend? Brenda Riley in the house. Thanks for letting me know the sound's okay. Hey Terry, good to see you. It is sunny here today. North Carolina in the house, welcome. Arkansas in the house, Chillicothe, Ohio. Temple, Texas, right on, right on. Detroit is in the house. I worked at Wayne State University for quite some time. Good morning, Michael. Welcome, everyone. 40 of you have jumped online. Make sure that you share where you're jumping on from. Say hello, howdy, hi to your neighbor. Grab yourself a glass of water for the MS Water Challenge. This is Aaron Boster gearing up for the February Ask Me Anything live stream. We'll turn the camera on at exactly 11 o'clock sharp at the top of the hour. If you see someone in blue in the chat, that's a moderator. They're here to help out and keep everything going smoothly. Shout out to Joe Siders, who's reminding us that if you click that link, you can sign up for a free monthly newsletter called the Boster Corner. We've got Brenda in the house representing Wisconsin. Hello. Berlin, Germany is in the house. What's going on, man? Canada representing. Love that. Wisconsin is here. Greetings from London. Armadillo, Texas is in the house. What's your weather like in London? Vancouver Island. That's on my bucket list. Hello, Kathy. Yorkshire, UK in the house. That's amazing. Great question from a viewer in Pakistan. They need to be treating you, my friend. I'm going to be answering questions at the top of the hour. I won't start those questions and answers until 11 o'clock sharp. Between now and then, welcome. Get yourself comfy and cozy. Joe's reminding you to give this chat a thumbs up. It helps the YouTube algorithm realize that we're doing something cool here, that you like what you're seeing, and it helps push this content out so more families impacted by MS can benefit. All right, guys, I'm going to refill my coffee, grab a quick bio break, and I'll be back. As you jump online, share where you're jumping on from, and say hello to your neighbor. I'll be right back, and we'll be turning the cameras on at 11 o'clock sharp at the top of the hour for a Ask Me Anything MS live stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, howdy, hi. Super pumped. We're going to kick it off in just a few short minutes at the top of the hour when it hits 11 o'clock. I can't wait to turn my camera on. This is Aaron Boster, representing the Boster Center for Multiple Sclerosis and Single Point Healthcare. Super excited to join you for this February Ask Me Anything Multiple Sclerosis, where I'll be fielding your questions live. We've got a lot of fun and exciting people who have jumped online who are already throwing out some really great questions. As you jump online, share where you're jumping on from. It's so much fun to go back through the chat and to look and see where this growing global online village has amassed from. Joe, I am feeling old. I certainly had a birthday a little earlier this month. And yeah, I do feel a bit older. Elizabeth is in the house representing Mansfield, Ohio. Welcome, madam. Welcome, welcome. Miami is in the house. Springfield representing. Welcome, everyone. Jenny is in the house. What's going on? San Antonio. What's your weather like down in San Antonio? I have some family down that direction. Bluthton, one of our amazing moderators, has jumped online. Great to see you, friend. Elizabeth, I'm sorry something embarrassed happened to you. I think all of us go through that, no question about it. Warm and sunny, I'm digging it. Central GA, what's going on, guys? Welcome, welcome. Jim's in Cleveland. What's going on, my friend? Jim, it's good to see you. I hope you and yours are doing great. Please say hello to your family. Pace, Florida's in the house. Arizona representing. I actually went out to Arizona this past week. I was there for less than 24 hours. Conway, Arkansas. Texas. Got a lot of Texans here. I'm loving that. Stark, Florida in the house. That's a good question about acupuncture. Hold it until we go live in 10 short minutes. Good morning, everyone. Aaron Boster here, representing the Boster Center for Multiple Sclerosis and Single Point Healthcare. We care for families impacted by MS literally from around the globe. I am super excited to turn the camera on in just 10 short minutes and start to answer your MS questions live. This is our February Ask Me Anything. India's in the house. Ontario, Canada representing. What's going on, Alaska? Shannon, that's a great question, and we're going to answer that question when we go live. So make sure to ask it once we kick the cameras on. Good morning, everyone. There's 78 of you that have jumped online already. That's so awesome. Thank you for the hearts. Please feel free to give this chat a thumbs up. It teaches the YouTube algorithm that you really like this content and helps push it out so more families impacted by MS can benefit. That's a really big goal of mine. Delicious water at the side. What do we got here? There's some good questions coming on. Welcome, everyone. We're going to turn the camera on in 9 short minutes. Get yourself comfy and cozy. Grab a drink of water. Get your questions ready. Get geared up for a fun time. An hour of power answering your questions live. Ask Me Anything Multiple Sclerosis. There's 82 of you that have jumped online. Thank you, guys. That's amazing. Where are all of you jumping on from? South Dakota in the house. Got some good questions popping up. We're going to get to those when we go live. Buffalo in the house. Mississippi is in the house. Good morning, Jude. I hope you're doing well. Bienvenue, Quebec. Fairfax, Virginia, representing. Seven minutes, guys. Puerto Rico in the house. What's your weather like in Puerto Rico? Hey, Paul, where in Michigan are you hail from? I have lost a bit of weight, Jenny. North Carolina. Gorgeous down there. 87 degrees. Man, that sounds really nice. I used to live in Ypsilanti, Paula. Muskegon's a nice town. 91 people have jumped online. Boy, that makes me happy. We're going to kick it off in 6 short minutes. San Francisco. Hello, Sophia. What's your weather like over in San Fran? Indiana's in the house. Roanoke, what's going on? Now, when we get really close to the top of the hour, I'm going to ask you guys to flame up the chat. You know how we do it. It's another way to teach the YouTube algorithm that we are here and we're excited. Helps push this content out so more families impacted by MS can benefit. So find your fire emoji button. And not yet, but when it gets to about 2-3 minutes out, boy, we're going to spam the heck out of it. Thanks, Jenny. Dublin, Ohio is in the house. What's going on, West Union? Welcome, welcome. That's a nice thing to say, Marie. Thank you. Happy to answer that question, Julie. We got 5 short minutes. If a moderator can help delete 6. Hey Denise, good to see you. That's super nice of you. Jenny, we could do a didactic. What do people want to hear about, I guess? Antioch, Illinois. Welcome, welcome. These are great questions. Make sure to ask them once we go live so I can answer them. There's 108 of you. Wow, that's really awesome. Welcome, everyone. Aaron Boster here, representing the Boster Center for Multiple Sclerosis and Single Point Healthcare. Super excited to join you for this February Ask Me Anything live stream. We're going to flip the camera on in literally 4 short minutes. Right before the top of the hour, find your flame emoji button. We are going to flame up the chat and send a message to that YouTube algorithm about how excited and pumped we are, ready to energize, empower, and educate families impacted by MS. I'll be answering your MS questions live. Woo! There's 111 of you before we even get started. This may be a record, guys. I am so impressed. Thank you. Matthew, I haven't gone out to a coffee shop in a long time, but Stauf's down in German Village, I think, is probably my fave. It's a really nice one. It's not a chain. They have great coffee. Really nice environment. They take coffee really seriously down there. My kind of people. All right, 3 minutes out until we kick it off. You know how we do it. Get ready and flame up that chat, yo. We want to fill the chat with flames. Go ahead and find your flame emoji. There you go. You got that fire emoji. Fire it up. We got folks leading the way. That's the way we do it. Show me some love and flame up that chat, yo. Fire up the flames. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. Robert Wilhelm is in the house with flames galore. Christine C's got it going on. Let me see some flames, yo. We're going to need a firefighter in here. It's getting very, very hot. Woo-wee, I'm loving it. That's awesome, guys. 2 minutes until we go live. Don't stop the flames. Let it keep rocking and rolling. Send a message out to the YouTube algorithm that we are pumped. We are ready to be educated, to be energized, to be empowered. This growing global online village has amassed, and we are ready for this live stream where I'm going to tackle your questions live. Less than 1 minute. Do not stop the flames, yo. Keep it going. Sirens are blazing. We've got fire trucks coming around the bend. We've got less than a minute until we kick it off live with this February live stream. Boster Center is in the house. Single Point Healthcare is in the house. And it's just about time. Look at all those flames. Do not stop. Do not stop. Keep those flames coming, guys. That's perfect. Woo-wee! Giddy up. Seconds remain. I'm staring at the clock and loving those flames. Do not stop. Please keep it going. Ring those bells. It is almost time. I can feel that countdown. It's on. Hey! Good morning, everyone. Hello, howdy, hi. Aaron Boster here, coming at you from sunny Columbus, Ohio, and it really is sunny out. We have had some wicked weather in Ohio of recent, but the snow has melted. I was actually able to take a walk last night, and I didn't freeze. And I am super happy to be with you on this February Ask Me Anything live stream. I'm Aaron Boster, I guess technically your host for the live stream, representing the Boster Center for Multiple Sclerosis and Single Point Healthcare, where we care for families impacted by MS literally from around the globe. We've been doing these live streams monthly since the Boster Center went live, going way back into pandemic times, 2020. And as long as you keep joining and keep asking your amazing questions, I'm going to keep jumping on here and I'm going to keep answering them. As we get rocking and rolling, as you jump online, there's 125 of you. Thank you, guys. Please share where you're jumping on from. So type where you're coming in from. It is so cool to go back through the chat and see where all the village members have gotten together from. I love that. As you look in the chat, you'll notice some people have their name in blue. They are special. Those are our moderators. They are really helpful. They're completely volunteering to help me. I'm dyslexic. Trying to keep lists of things at the same time is sometimes hard, and they help me a whole lot. As you ask questions, they'll identify them and throw them up for me to see in blue, so it's easier for me to find. If someone is acting sassy and maybe being disrespectful to others, the moderators will squelch that so we can all have a good time here. Now, as you ask questions, please keep in mind that I can't diagnose you or provide an answer on the interwebs. In order to do that, I need to see you in clinic. And so when you ask a question, please try to make it generalizable, right? That way I can answer in a generalized fashion. That way everybody can learn and benefit. Got my coffee at the ready. Let's do a quick sound check before we get started. Everyone can hear me okay? Let me know if the sound's all right. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Mary had a little lamb. Over. Just looking to make sure that you guys can hear me okay, and then we'll get started. Survey says, all right, thumbs up. Super McDuper. I love it. Let's switch around the scenes and we will tackle the first set of questions. Making sure the mic is on. All right. Let's look for the question. What's an update on cannabis? So I don't think that we could have a MS forum discussion Q&A without somebody asking about cannabis. So we might as well get that question knocked out right away. Thank you very much for asking it. It's actually a very good question. So I don't have any systematized updates on data, and I don't have any systematized updates on Ohio law. I can share with you the tenor of cannabinoids in the Boster Center in Central Ohio in our clinic. And now having had cannabis available medically for going on, say, 6 years, maybe a little longer even, and having cannabis available recreationally in Ohio for several years, I can share with you kind of where things have kind of shook out, so to speak, and where I see my patients using it and where I see it not being helpful. But before we do that, I'm awful parched. And you know what that means, guys. It's time for the MS Water Challenge, yo. If I can find the button. All right. Give me a second. Whoops. Ooh. There we go. Drink up. That was really good. So, I find cannabis to not be helpful with cog fog. So, using pot is not going to help you think more clearly. I find cannabis does not seem to be very helpful with fatigue. So, using cannabis is not going to give you more energy. It does not seem to help my patients with balance. It does not seem to help my patients with depression, and it does not seem to help my patients with bladder. So those have been observations as I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of families about what doesn't seem to work. What does seem to work, not in all people, but in many people, cannabis helps with insomnia, which is a really big deal for a lot of folks. It helps with nausea, which is a big deal for a lot of folks. Excuse me. It helps with anxiety, and that can be very, very helpful. It also can help with neuropathic pain, and probably where I see the biggest benefit for cannabinoids is to spasticity. Those are the areas where I really see it to be helpful. There is an abuse and addiction potential in my experience. I've had rarely some patients that develop a dependence and a tolerance. And in those rare instances, we've made a shared medical decision to step away from cannabis because it was creating problems. And I think it's important to know that. I think that where we have sort of integrated cannabinoids into clinic is in an appropriate place. It's not a panacea, it's not magic. It is a tool, just like gabapentin or Lyrica is a tool, just like physical therapy is a tool, just like nutrition is a tool. It's something that can help some symptoms, and it has some side effects. So I think that it's important to keep in mind that I don't want you to smoke cannabis. I don't want you to light something carbon-based on fire and create smoke and suck in the smoke. That's extremely pro-inflammatory. And that would create the same risk of speeding up your MS as it would if you were smoking an analog cigarette. I think that there's a lot of other ways to ingest cannabinoids that are probably less pro-inflammatory. If you can avoid sucking in vapors, something like an edible, like a THC gummy, or a tincture, or a topical cream, those are things. So I don't have any updates except to say that I think cannabis has found a home in clinic for certain patients to help with some of the symptoms I mentioned. And for those symptoms, it can be pretty fantastic. Great question. Thank you for asking it. And let's take another one. So here's a question from Elizabeth Dale. So Elizabeth writes, Dr. Boster, I was diagnosed in 2001, terrified about choosing a medicine. I ended up deciding on Tysabri. How does Tysabri compare to some of the newer medicines? So that's a great question. So Tysabri is not a new medicine. Tysabri came out, I remember vividly when Tysabri came out, in 2004. And at that time, we thought we had solved the riddle. We knew the answer to MS, just give people Tysabri, because it beat the pants off all the other medicines. It was really remarkable how impactful it was. Its ability to decrease relapses was better than anything that we had ever used before, almost double better than anything we had ever used before. This is a pretty big deal. Its ability to clean up the MRI, same thing, amazing. And that was way back in 2004. And at the time that Tysabri came out, we had Avonex, Rebif, Betaseron, and Copaxone on label, and then Tysabri. So it was the fifth medicine available. That was 2004. Now we're in 2026. So that's been a bunch of years since then. And there's been a bunch of medicines that have come out. We now have easily 28 different formulations of medicines if you think of the different dosing schedules and whatnot. And guess what? Tysabri is still the shit. Tysabri is still a really, really good medicine. It is still top tier. Even though it's an old medicine, it remains in the upper echelon of efficacy for multiple sclerosis, in my opinion. Which is pretty remarkable, because if you think about any form of technology from 20 plus years ago, you would not be using it on the daily, right? So if you think about like this cell phone, and I don't know which version of the iPhone, whatever this one is, but I had a cell phone back in 2004. I remember it was a white flip phone, and it had buttons on it, and there was no screen, and I could pre-program in numbers into it. It was very cool, and I would flip it open and hello, and I don't know where that phone is. It probably is in a landfill, and maybe it's in a museum somewhere, but I'm not using it anymore because technology has advanced. Tysabri remains extremely relevant. Tysabri is an outstanding medicine to decrease attacks. Tysabri does a really, really good job of decreasing new spots on MRI. Tysabri isn't just Tysabri anymore. And so the generic name for the medicine is natalizumab, which is a funny name, natalizumab. And natalizumab has one brand called Tysabri, and it now has a second brand of natalizumab called Teruco. And so you can now have two different brands of the medicine natalizumab, Teruco and Tysabri. And they've both been tested. They both work really well. They're both very safe in the same way. They're both monitored in the same fashion. And so I think that's really, really awesome. And I certainly find that many of my patients on Tysabri do exceedingly well. Tysabri has an interesting side effect of increasing energy, not in all patients, but in a lot of patients. And it's not uncommon that my patient will refer to it as their go juice. We give Tysabri at the Boster Center for MS fast. We give it over a half an hour. There's some data that's very safe, and we use that data, and we've given it over a half an hour now for many, many years. Gosh, how long have I been doing that? Maybe almost 10 years. And that's kind of nice because you don't have to waste more of your day being infused. We get you in and we get you out. That way you can go have excitement elsewhere. Bedroom, boardroom, playing field. I want you to be bored when you come to get topped off with your Tysabri. That was a great question. One of the weird things about Tysabri, when it first came out, not only was it the most efficacious thing we had ever seen, it was also very infrequently administered, because we were used to taking a shot once a day, a shot every other day, something like that, a shot once a week. Now we're doing an infusion once a month, which was really revolutionary. Like, you only need to come in once a month, which is pretty neat. What's interesting is if you fast forward 20 some years, now having to come in once every month sounds just like a lot, because we have other medicines that you take once every 6 months, right? We have some medicines that you do just for a week and then you don't do anything for another year. So that's interesting that when you're revisiting Tysabri and you say, would you like to come into the center every 4 weeks or every 6 months? Oftentimes people lean towards the 6 months. I will point out that in order to mitigate risk with Tysabri, many of us, myself included, in a JC virus antibody positive patient, we will spread the dose out to 6 weeks. And so coming in every 6 weeks is still really often compared to every 6 months, but not as often. Just another thing we think about with Tysabri. If I was to list one thing about Tysabri that is not the best, it's that I don't think it's the best at slowing brain volume. I don't think it does that as good as maybe some of the other medicines in the high efficacy category. And I'm not saying therefore it's a bad medicine and we shouldn't use it, because I think it's a good medicine and I do use it. I'm just saying if there's a chink in the armor of Tysabri, aside from the PML risk, it's that. So that was a great question. I really appreciate you asking it. Thank you. Up. Time for MS Water Challenge, man. Let's do it. When I drink, you drink. All right, let's take another question. These are great questions today. I'm going to rock a little Northern Lights here. Chris wanted us to know, sorry can't make it this month, Whiskey Festival, so night out for me. Okay, I understand, and I hope that it was a fun whiskey festival. So this nice person is asking, how do you consult with me if you're in India? And I have a couple patients who are from India, and they come over once or twice a year and they see me. And then that works out pretty well. It's a long flight though. All right, here's a nice question. Well, where did it go? So Bluthton queued up a question. Thank you, Bluthton. Am I involved in the Cleveland Clinic study of robotic exoskeletons for MS? No, I'm not. I'm not a Cleveland Clinic physician. The Cleveland Clinic is just north of me. I've got a lot of friends that work up there, and they're a great center. I think they do a really, really good job. I think that exoskeletons are amazing. I think that exoskeletons are one way of providing structural support to help someone who has a weak hip flexor try to move that leg and support their body weight. Many of you who come to clinic know that I bought a, what's it called? Hypershell X. Now this is not intended for people with disabilities. It's a device that they market for mountain climbers. Now I am not a mountain climber, but I was watching an advertisement on this gizmo and I thought, man, that would really help my patient with hip flexor weakness. So I got one and brought it to clinic, and we've kind of just anecdotally had patients with hip flexor weakness throw it on. Some of them think it's kind of silly and doesn't help. Some of them find it to be very, very helpful. I think if you have one hip flexor that's a little bit weak, this device can actually help quite a bit. And that is a very, very simple exoskeleton. So I think exoskeletons are kind of amazing. Frazzle Dazzle is a fun name. So hello, Frazzle Dazzle. Any link between MS and COVID? No. So I don't think I don't think COVID causes MS. Sometimes an infection can kick off an attack, and COVID is one hell of an aggressive infection. And so one might hypothesize, Frazzle Dazzle, that you were going to manifest the MS diagnosis at some point, and maybe having COVID kind of spurred that on a little bit faster. That's conjecture. So Jimmy Michael asks a really nice question. I already have 4 years on Tysabri. I'm thinking of possibly changing to Ocrevus, ocrelizumab, but I'm concerned about depressing my immune system systemically. So that's a very nice discussion. Let's talk about what both medicines do as it relates to immunosuppression. Tysabri creates the Great Wall of China. So when you infuse Tysabri, after 3 infusions, you tighten up the blood-brain barrier, something fierce. So you just create this massive Great Wall of China, so naughty autoreactive cells in the bloodstream cannot enter into the brain. When I would teach people about Tysabri, I would sometimes use an analogy of the 3 little pigs. So the analogy of the three little pigs, they're being chased by the big bad wolf, and they all run to their respective huts. And the straw house is a really crappy house. It's not a very well built house. And as you're well aware, the big bad wolf can huff and puff and blow it down. And in this analogy, the straw house is the normal blood-brain barrier. And it's pretty easy for your cells to pass through the normal blood-brain barrier like the straw house. Now, when you add interferon beta products, so these are things like Avonex, Rebif, Betaseron, Extavia, when you add those products, you turn the straw house into the stick house, right? So the stick house is a better house. It's more robust than the straw house, but it's not foolproof, and the big bad wolf can still huff and puff and blow it down, but it's a little bit harder to do. And that's really kind of what happens when you apply interferon beta products to the blood-brain barrier. It makes it stronger, but not impenetrable. When you apply Tysabri, it turns it into the brick house, all right? It becomes an impenetrable wall. It creates the Great Wall of China. So the cells that are in the bloodstream cannot cross over into the brain. And as long as you apply Tysabri, you maintain that wall. So what does that mean as it relates to immunosuppression? In the bloodstream, you're not immunosuppressed when you're on Tysabri. We're not impacting your immune system in the periphery, so in the bloodstream at all. So if you're on Tysabri and you get an infection introduced in your body, you can fight it. An example is that during the COVID pandemic, patients on Tysabri fought off COVID exactly like the general population because we didn't do anything naughty to their peripheral immune response. The central compartment is massively immunosuppressed with Tysabri. You think about it. We create this Great Wall of China so there no cells can get into the brain. So then there's no cells in the brain. So you have no white blood cells floating around the brain. There's no immunosurveillance, which is good when you have an autoimmune disease attacking your brain, but it's bad if you're trying to fight off a foreign invader. So if a virus was capable of getting into the brain, there's no security guards and cops to prevent the virus from wreaking havoc. The analogy that I think of in my mind is if you broke into a museum after hours and there were no guards in the museum, you could do whatever you wanted in the museum and nobody could stop you. And that's kind of what happens. So put a pin in that for a second. That's Tysabri. Let's transition and talk about B-cell medicines, B-cell depleters. So the question was about Ocrevus. It would be Ocrevus, Rituxan, Briumvi, Kesimpta. Those are all B-cell medicines. A little coffee here. The B-cell medicines, they don't do anything to the blood-brain barrier. That's not where they work. So if you're on a B-cell medicine, your cells can cross the blood-brain barrier back and forth, easy, breezy, cover girl. But this actually has an impact in the way that the B and the T cells communicate. So here's the dealio. T cells attack your brain in the setting of MS, unfortunately. But the T cell can't do it unless the B cell pisses it off. That's true. And so if you don't have a lot of B cells, then the B cells aren't around to piss off the T cells, so the T cells don't attack you. Now, I use an analogy to explain that as well. So I went to Gahanna Lincoln High School, which was a really big public high school on the outside of Columbus, Ohio. And it was overcrowded, and people would bump each other in the halls and stuff. And sometimes when two young men would bump into each other, that was an assault to their ego. And the only way to solve that dispute was to meet at 3:30 behind B building and literally kick the shit out of each other. Or they would have fights. And I attended some of these social events. And what I noticed was when two young men showed up to defend their book bag honor, they always came with 8 of their very best friends. So like they would bring like the whole reserve soccer team, and they would show up and they would have all their friends behind them. The friends play an important role. The friends get them riled up. Go ahead, man, whoop his butt. I got you. I'll look out for teachers. Go ahead. If he hits you, I'll hit him, right? And then you may see like these two kids punch each other for a couple minutes. But if one kid went to show up to fight and none of his friends came, guess what? He's not going to fight that day. Suddenly he doesn't want to fight. With B cell depleters, we literally murder your friends. We remove all the B cells, the adult B cells. And so you don't have any B cells to make your T cells mad enough to attack you. It's an indirect mechanism, and it works. And so we are, with B cell depleters, suppressing some of your immune system. But it's not like the whole immune system. See, it's a sliver of the immune system. And under normal circumstances, you can fight off infections. There are situations on B cell depleters where over time, the B cell depleter can have an impact on your ability to fight off infections, which we want to avoid. So how do we deal with that? Because I deal with that in clinic all the time. Well, what we do is two things. Thing number one is we ask you if you've had any infections. So you're a you expert, and you know whether you've had infections because you're you. And if you have had some infections in the last 6 months coming in before your infusion, we might need to consider if that's too frequent. If you have one bronchitis during the winter, I'm not going to be happy about that, but I'm not going to throw a fit. But if you're having your second, your third infection, we're treating you with antibiotics, things are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, we may need to back off or wait to infuse you. The second thing we do is we check laboratories. So what I like to do is 6 weeks before your planned infusion, we check several laboratories to look at, are the B cells still gone? And are the antibodies pushed down too low? Or is the white blood cell count too low? And if they are, that's a risk for increased risk of infection, and that may result in a conversation. We may delay your infusion a little bit. That's how we at the Boster Center and at Single Point Healthcare mitigate risk with immunosuppression. So at the end of the day, we're using Tysabri or we're using Ocrevus to make MS boring. And we're constantly evaluating the risk benefit. So there's a benefit to Tysabri and there's a risk to Tysabri. And Jimmy says he's got a risk of 4 in 10,000 of PML, which in my opinion is a very low risk. But again, my opinion is not relevant because it's not my body. There's a risk benefit with Ocrevus. Ocrevus we don't think increases risk for PML. So I have many patients that are concerned about PML and they switch to Ocrevus to avoid that. There is a risk with Ocrevus, and that risk is if we're not monitoring carefully, we could allow you to have an increased risk of infection. But I find that we can generally mitigate that risk pretty easily simply by doing the stuff we talked about. So that was a very nice question. Before I move on, the one thing I'll say is if you're debating between Tysabri and Ocrevus, it's kind of like arguing about which is a better sports car, a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, right? And you may really prefer suicide doors, or you may really like the Ferrari logo, I don't know. But they're both really, really good cars. And if you were forced to only have one or the other, you're going to drive something really, really nice. And I think that's important. That was a great question. Thank you for asking that question. Let's take another one. So Boster, 16, I hope I said your name right, Boster, 16, said, if you're having pain across your face, is that considered neuropathy? So neurologists like myself are nerds and words matter. And so let's talk about this. So the word neuropathy, if you break it apart, pathy means not working, like pathology, like pathy, P-A-T-H-Y means bad, not working. So neuro in this instance is referencing the peripheral nerve, like the nerve in your face or the nerve in your arm or something like that. So neuropathy, technically to a neurologist, means pain caused by damage to the peripheral nerve. You can have pain in your face because you have a nerve in your face that's damaged, like the trigeminal nerve could be damaged. Or in the setting of MS, you can actually have damage in the brain itself, which is causing facial pain. So depending on where the pain is coming from determines whether it's called a form of neuropathy or whether it's coming from something from the brain itself. I think what you mean is, oh my God, my face hurts. Is that like neurologic? And it very much can be neurologic. People impacted by MS have 14 times higher risk of having a very bad form of facial pain called trigeminal neuralgia. I'm thirsty. Let's drink up. Water challenge, yo. that was delicious. There's 189 of you that have jumped online today. Thank you. That's really, really awesome. Many of you have probably heard me say this before, but it's so impactful, and I have to say it again. When I started this channel, gosh, 11 years ago, I did it because I wanted to create an educational content that I didn't think was BS. I did it so that I could point to a place on the internet and say, hey, go here because I think this information is real, because I made it. And I really intended it to be a tool to help teach my patients and their families between visits, which is what I hope it does. But what I did not anticipate was how freaking cool it is to build a giant community. This past month, we did something that I didn't think we would ever do. We crested 100,000 subscribers. And that's really neat. Like, really, really neat. When you consider there's only 1 million people impacted by MS in the United States, there's 100,000 subscribers on this channel. That's like approaching 10%, which is colossal. And I never realized that there would be this amazing community of people that would make comments in the chat and talk to me through the comments. I didn't realize that there would be people that every month would budget time to jump online so that we can all get together for a bit and I can interact with you. I didn't realize that people would share my videos within their support groups and talk about it. And that's really neat. And I'm really, really appreciative of that. When I started the channel, I just wanted to teach people stuff. And then I got into YouTube. I thought that was cool. And I still think it's cool. And I thought, man, one day I'm going to hit 10,000 subscribers. And I remember where I was sitting when we hit 10,000 subscribers. And I wrote 10,000K on a chalkboard. And I was holding it up and dancing around. And now it's been 11 years. So for 11 years, we've been getting together. For 11 years, I've been pumping out MS educational videos. For a long time, I did it once a week. And now I do it twice a month because I'm tired. And you guys continue to watch them. And I'm so appreciative of that. When I make a video, I'm just talking into my computer. I don't know how it's going to be received. And so when you write a comment and tell me that it helped you, that means the world to me. Thank you to each and every one of you that saw fit to subscribe. Thank you to each and every one of you that see fit to join these monthly live streams, which are so important to me. And thank you when you interact with my video. It means a lot. So I'm going to keep doing this. I never ever thought that we would hit 100,000 subscribers. When I get around to it, I'm going to fill out the form, and maybe one day I'll even get like a plaque which I can put back there. More importantly, I hope that this resource empowers you. I hope that it helps educate you. I hope that it energizes you and your family to help you make this disease as boring as possible. MS sucks. I hate it. It takes a lot from people. But we don't have to let it do that by itself. We can fight back. And I think fighting back is most effective when you have a big village of people to help you. That's what this is. This is a village. And I want to be a village member with you. My name is Boster, and as always, thank you so much for learning about MS with me. Thank you for supporting me in my efforts on this channel. Thank you for supporting the Boster Center and Single Point Healthcare. I'm going to be back here in a month, and we'll do a March live stream. We will be pumping out Monday morning videos. And thank you to each and every one of you. Have a great weekend. God bless.